Speech is important because if you're going to be a great leader in life, you need to know how to talk to people.
Not only will it help them in the workforce, but just with their social interactions with other people, to be able to speak up for something that they believe in or something that they want to say and not always keep everything inside.
Some jobs you have to get up and speak. Like if you're a teacher, you have to talk to your classroom. You have to be good at that so they can hear you. And like if you are in the government, you have to give speeches to the people.
When I was a kid, students didn't often get up in front of the class to give a speech. And when we did, it could be pretty scary. But as you will see in this videotape, students these days are getting more and more comfortable speaking in front of an audience and being scored for their performance. In Oregon, we now have content and performance standards in speech to be met at 3rd, 5th, 8th, and 10th grade. The content standards tell us what skills will be assessed in student speaking. The performance standards tell us how the students will demonstrate that they meet those standards. This is one of 4 tapes developed by the Department of Education for teachers and students who would like more practice in speech assessment. The tape begins with a set of speeches. After each speech, you can pause the tape and score the presentation yourselves. We'll then show you the score our panel of teachers gave the speech for comparison. You will also hear comments and suggestions by students and teachers. The student speeches will be followed by a panel of teachers discussing the speaking assessments, how students should practice and prepare, and of course, scoring the speeches. To meet the 5th grade benchmark, students are required to give 2 oral presentations. The speeches are scored for ideas and content, organization, language, and delivery. Students must get a score of 4 in all of these areas to meet the benchmark. Now, let's take a look at some speeches.
A few weeks ago, I went to work with my dad. He has a friend named Bob who is a clown, part-time. He taught me how to make balloon dogs. And I want to show you how. First, I'm going to use a pump because I can't blow them up. It's pretty hard. And I'm going to use a balloon. First, you open up the balloon as much as you can and slip it on to the pump. You get it down as far as you can so you have room to tie it. Then my pump blows out air both ways. So I pump it up as much as I need. And for a dog, I only need about that much. Then you take it off the balloon and you tie it. Now, then you make 3 circles, as it says on there, in step 1. Then you fold it around like this and tie and twist the front balloon with the big part, and so you have a dog head. Then you make another small circle and 2 fairly big ovals, as it says on there. Then you twist it around and do the same shape as you did for the head, like that. So you have 2 legs and a head. Then you make a small circle for the body, and then 2 more fairly sized ovals. And then you do the same shape you did for the head and the front legs, and you have a dog. I have been making these for a long time because of Bob. When I went back there, he taught me how to make a hat, which I will show you now. There are several kinds of hats you can make, but I'm going to make the simplest one. For a hat, you have to pump it up a little farther. then you tie it again. But then, instead of doing little circles, you fold it around their head to see what size they have. And then you twist it around so it doesn't come undone. And then you fold it up like this. And twist it. Then you try to make this bend up as much as you can so you can put it on your head.
This speech scores a 4 in ideas and content. The information is clear, focused, and appropriate to the audience. He chooses a unique topic and relevant supporting details. This is a good example of a demonstration speech. The score is a 4 in organization. His introduction brings the audience to the topic, and the presentation is easy to follow. The demonstration and details move the audience logically through the speech. His conclusion may be abrupt, but it still matches the purpose of the speech. The score for language is a 4. He uses language that is appropriate for the subject and the audience. His grammar is usually correct. Some of his words, like oval and twist around, work, but are not especially strong. The speech is a 4 in delivery. He was able to maintain his composure as he spoke and demonstrated. His eye contact was good, though not always consistent. The how-to demonstration was entertaining and helped him convey his message.
My name is Tara Lipinski. I'm a famous ice skater. I was born on June 10th, 1982 in Philadelphia. My parents named me after the plantation in Gone with the Wind, which is my mom's favorite movie. My parents were married on May 4th in Bayonne, New Jersey. In 1984, I stood in front of the TV and said to my mom, I want a ribbon and some flowers like the people on TV. So my mom found me some dried up old flowers and she tied a ribbon around my neck. I wanted those things because on TV, the Figure Skating Association was giving out the medals. I didn't even see the medals. All I wanted were the flowers and ribbons. My mom Pat and I loved to hang out at the beach, make sandcastles, and go swimming. I started roller skating when I was 3, and when I was 8, I won a silver medal at the National Roller Skating Competition in Texas where I live. The next year, I won the gold. One rainy day in 1985 when I was 3, my mother wanted to get me out of the house. She decided to take me to a movie. When she was looking in the Sunday paper to see what movies were playing, an ad caught her eye that said there was a new roller rink just down the street that was giving away Care Bears, and she thought I might like one. So off to the roller rink we went. When we got there, Mom paid the fee and rented me some brown skates. I took one look at them and burst into tears. I wouldn't let my mom put those ugly things on my feet, but she put them on anyway. Then, later in 1985, that got a little boring and a little too easy for me, so my mom put me on ice skates. I was horrible in the beginning of the day, but by the end of the day, I was showing much improvement and a lot better. And that's how it all started. In 1989, my coach is Scott Gregory. He also coaches Todd Eldridge. At 1996, at the United States Postal Service Challenge, I became the first man or woman ice skater to land a triple loop combination at a meet. The reporters desperately wanted to know how long it took me to practice and perfect the combination. I said it only took me 2 weeks, and for some skaters, they would practice for years and years, and no one has landed it except for myself. But what could I say? 2 weeks was true. Later in 1996, an injured Nicole Bobek drops out. I win a bronze medal at the United States Figure Skating Championships. American officials decide I've also earned the right to compete at the Worlds. At my first Worlds in 1996, I stumble a lot in my short program, but my long program shines. I finished 15th out of about 30 other skaters, including myself and Todd Eldridge. In 1997, I was touring with the World Figure Skating Champions. With me went Todd Eldridge, Elva Stoico, Oksana Bayul, Brian Boitano, and Nancy Kerrigan. They were great company. Jumping is my favorite part of ice skating. Each of the jumps happens so fast, but I never get dizzy. Some of my favorite things are colors, blue and purple, favorite TV show, Party of Five, Friends, and The Rosie O'Donnell Show, favorite foods, pizza, grapes, and Oreo cookies, especially the double stuffed kind, favorite animals, frogs and dogs, favorite clothing, shoes, and favorite car, any car once I'm able to drive, Favorite Disney character? Snow White. And favorite vacation spot? Disney World. I've been there 10 times and on all the rides at least twice. My family has 5 dogs: Camelot, Brandy, Lancelot, Coco, and last but not least, Mischief. Sometimes I don't really feel famous, but I love how kids ask me how to do a jump or improve their skating when I'm on the street, shopping, or at the movies with my family and friends. I also take gymnastics and dance class to improve my flexibility and grace. 2 of my best friends are both ice skaters. Their names are Aaron Sutton and Aaron Elby. It's cool how they both have the first same name. I even have my own website, www.taralipinski.com. I love getting email from all my friends, family, and fans. I sometimes do some sewing. I got interested when I was a little girl. I made a stuffed rabbit, which was not easy. I also made some throw pillows. They're made of material that's printed with, well, you guessed it, ice skates, skates, and Zambonis. I spend a lot of my free time hanging out with Erin Sutton. She sleeps over at my house in Michigan all the time. We rent movies like Jerry Maguire, play ping pong in the basement, or just listen to music. I now live in Michigan. I just won an orange blimp from Nickelodeon at the Kids' Choice Awards for Best Female Athlete. I might even go to the Olympics in the year 2002. And somewhere out there, a talented little girl is watching me on TV.
This speech scores a 5 in ideas and content. The information is clear, focused, and well-suited to her audience. She uses strong supporting details to enhance the audience's picture of her subject. Her organization scores a 4. The speech is easy to follow with mostly smooth transitions throughout. The details fit well into the structure of her speech. Her conclusion is also well designed. The score for language is 5. Her word choice is both original and appropriate for the audience. She uses creative language that evokes an emotional response, such as they're made out of, you guessed it. Though she does use some jargon like it's cool, the grammar in her speech is almost entirely correct. The speech is a 4 in delivery. She is a casual speaker with good eye contact and delivery techniques. Her speech is fluent, though she does vary her rate and volume. A slower pace with more gestures and voice inflection would make this a 5 in delivery.
A biome is the name of a specific land area and its climate. The biome I chose to study was subarctic taiga. You can also pronounce its name subarctic taiga. Taiga is found in northern North America and northern Asia and Europe. The average temperatures range annually from below -10 degrees in the winter all the way up to 60 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer. Some animals that have adapted to the varying temperatures are moose, caribou, reindeer, and even nearer to the Arctic Circle there may be polar bears. I also invented an animal, which does not live in this biome, called the Lapin bear. It has greenish-gray fur to hide from predators and claws to escape from predators. Some plant life, which I did not invent, includes coniferous trees like pine and spruce. There is also Arctic grass, which is an important part of the food chains. One food chain for subarctic taiga is Arctic grass, which is eaten by a lemming or a moose or caribou. A rodent, the lemming, would be eaten by a fox, and if a fox may be trapped by a human for its furs. I would like to say that some species have become endangered due to trapping and overhunting, such as the wolverine. Humans have also added buildings, homes, oil pumps, and roads, but humans aren't the cause of all changes in this biome. Erosion, such as glacial erosion and coastal erosion, changes the geography of the land. There may also be water erosion, which is caused partly by the water cycle. The water cycle starts out with water evaporating from a water source. The precipitation forms into clouds and falls back to the earth. Some other cycles are the carbon dioxide-oxygen cycle and the nitrogen cycle. The carbon dioxide-oxygen cycle is when a plant takes in carbon dioxide and gives off oxygen. The oxygen is taken back in by an animal or a human. Then the animal or human gives off the carbon dioxide, which is then taken in by a plant, etc., etc. The nitrogen cycle is when lightning mixes oxygen with nitrogen. The nitrogen falls to the earth with rain and goes into plants. The plants are eaten by animals. When the animal leaves manure, bacteria breaks down the manure and the nitrogen goes back into the air. I really enjoyed studying this biome, and there are also many other biomes that I would like to study.
This speech scores a 4 in ideas and content. Her content is clear, focused, and appropriate for the audience and purpose. The supporting details are relevant but could be stronger. The score for organization is a 4. Her introduction brings the audience right to the topic. The speech is easy to follow with one idea leading smoothly to the next. Her conclusion is well planned but lacks subtlety. In language, the score is a 4. Her word choice is functional and appropriate to the audience. She also uses technical language and grammar competently. The speech scores a 4 in delivery. Her presentation is generally fluent with good delivery techniques. She could enhance her delivery by making more consistent eye contact and using more gestures and inflection in her voice.
How many of you people have this problem? Well, if you're like me, I have this problem. 20 out of 28 students surveyed indicated that they have the same problem. Since this problem is so common, I made an invention to solve it. First, I thought of 3 different possible solutions. The first one is a jacket with a board on the back so you can set the item you want to carry on it and it will move for you. Second is to build a stroller that you push your items on instead of carrying them. Third, a board that has legs that you set on your shoulders and the object is supported by straps. I chose solution number 2 because it made more sense to me and it would be easier to use. Just load your items and push. After doing the evaluations, I named my invention the Carry-All. I chose this name because it simply describes my invention. It carries all. The Carry-All is designed to help you transport heavy items from one place to another. Watch. The Carry-All is made mostly out of wood. It has a metal handle for pushing and stability. Here, a board folds down so that it can be used as a table, shelf, or another place to hold or set items. Where these boards meet, there is a hinge, so my invention can fold down and be wheeled into easy storage. There are many situations in which my invention can be used. Sometimes picnic baskets are as heavy as elephants, as I showed you, when a lot of people go on picnics. The Carry-All will help you carry your baskets to your favorite picnic site. Also, carrying your luggage to or from the car or airport can sometimes be a real hassle. The Carry-All saves you time and convenience. Third, families always have trouble transporting food, tents, and sleeping bags to the designated campsite when they go camping. The Carry-All allows you to carry many items without extra trips and without the strain on your back. So, if you too are having trouble carrying heavy items, you are a candidate for my invention, the Carry-All. And remember, don't carry it all, get the Carry-All.
This speech is a 5 for ideas and content. The introduction is creative and the content is clear and appropriate for the audience. Her supporting details are strong and relevant. This is a good example of a student demonstrating her own invention. The score is 5 in organization. The structure makes it easy to understand the development of her ideas. She selects details and places them where they will have the most impact. Her conclusion is well planned and matches the purpose of her speech. She also scores a 5 in language. Her language is original with carefully selected words that make her speech clear and vivid, like heavy as elephants and designated campsite. Her grammar is almost entirely correct. The score for delivery is a 3. Because she reads her speech, she is unable to make effective eye contact. With more practice and a more conversational delivery, she could exceed the standards in all dimensions of the scoring guide.
I found a major problem one day when I was taking out the trash. Just as I was opening the bag and ready to pour the trash into the bag would close and some of the items would fall out. This is what happens. Just a regular trash bag. As I open it and I have some trash, and when I pour, stuff falls out. And I really don't want to clean it up because it's pretty disgusting. So I came up with 3 solutions to fix this problem. First, I thought that I could do PVC that would hold open a bag. Then I thought a robot could do the trash for me, but there's probably something in the world like that. Then I thought a plastic container could wrap around your arm, but it could get too heavy. So I thought of the No Trouble Trash Mate. The No Trouble Trash Mate is built with light PVC teeth like this, but I like to call them PVC arms, and screen. And if you get the deluxe model compared to the original model, you get 2 recycling bins and gloves. The purpose of the No Trouble Trash Mate is to hold open the bag with the 2 PVC arms and these 2 small ones, so the bag is extra wide and you can use both hands to pour. It's quite easy to do the recycling too. Just slip on the gloves, these gloves, and then you do the trash. Nothing fell out, except for because the bag wasn't done. Then you take out anything. See, this says paper, so I put paper. And here's some gray board, so I put gray board in there. And then the screen comes in. If you've had an extra recycling day, or if it gets stuck when you're taking the trash away, it falls. Then the screen will catch it, so you don't have to take 2 trips to clean it up like you would for the bag. And the 3 ways my No Trouble Trash Mate can be used is if you're usually lazy and you don't want to do the trash, recycling, and cleanup, which is 3 trips. You hurry because you want to do something exciting, but you spill the trash on the way and it takes you longer than you expected. Or you always take forever to do the trash and you have something very exciting to do and the trash and recycling doesn't get done correctly and there's a mess and your parents get mad. On my poster over here, I have some comparisons of the No Trouble Trash Mate to the regular bag. As you see here, the No Trouble Trash Mate is easy cleanup and the bag is messy. The No Trouble Trash Mate is fast and the bag can be very time consuming. The No Trouble Trash Mate takes 1 trip and the bag can take 2 to 3 trips and you just don't have time for that. So remember, if you have trash troubles, you need the No Trouble Trash Mate.
This speech scores a 5 in ideas and content. The information is clear, focused, and well-suited to the audience. She begins by making connections between her personal experience and real-life problems. Her visual aids reinforce the details in her speech. The score for organization is a 5. The clear structure of her speech makes it easy to understand her purpose and message. Her introduction and conclusion are both well designed. In language, the score is a 5. The language is original with a variety of carefully selected words. She uses descriptive language like PVCs that I like to call arms, and if you get a deluxe model compared to the original. Her delivery is also a 5. She demonstrates skillful delivery techniques like change in tone and voice inflection. She also integrates her visual aids and uses gestures to help her audience appreciate her message. We asked the students, what was the hardest part in preparing to give a speech?
The hardest part was coming up with the words that I was going to say, because you never know what's going to come out of your mouth when you get up there. You have to practice a lot.
Having to make eye contact with everybody, some people, and sometimes like talking smoothly and not like saying and words like that.
I think the planning of the speech as far as having an introduction and a conclusion and not just here's the meat of my speech and I'm done now. And that's something we've really worked quite a bit on is how can you get your audience excited just like when you're writing a story.
Let's hear what the teachers have to say about how to prepare for and evaluate student speeches.
What sorts of things do you do or have you done in the past that you found have worked really well to get particularly beginning speakers engaged in the whole process of doing speaking?
I start with students having conversations among themselves. So we talk about communication. So there's a small group, partner, before they ever get up in front of somebody else to do the speaking. And from there, then we can go into visuals, props, read-alouds, readers' theater, create your own commercials, science demonstrations, a whole variety of tasks. Book retells are a wonderful beginning because they can hold the book in their hand as a prop.
Okay, Cindy?
Basically, a lot of the same thing that Patty was doing, but also not only with the retells of the books and things like that, is having the kids be able to do a speech that they know about and have that first experience with a speech, something they're very familiar and comfortable with doing. With the inventions, having the kids actually invent something of their own and then be able to discuss it and talk about it to the kids. Those are kind of things that really make good quality speeches, are those that kids are informative about and they understand and they have firsthand knowledge about.
Okay. Ron, what sorts of activities, I know you teach a 3rd and 4th grade blend, is that right?
Right.
What sorts of things do you start your 3rd graders with, and how might that be different than something you do with your 4th graders?
Well, I try to find a common area, and I think demonstration speeches are very useful. This year I started with magic as our theme and had the students create and practice math tricks to present to each group. And they did it in small group form first, and then later in the year practiced larger magic tricks.
I think that would be very important, don't you, that you start maybe, especially with beginning speakers, of doing something that's one-on-one or to a very small group, and then gradually build them up so they feel more comfortable talking in front of the rest of the class. Sounds like something else that Ron mentioned that struck a chord with me, and that was that it somehow related to the content or to some other curricular area at the time. What sorts of activities do you see, or what are the benefits, I guess, from making sure that it picks up content from somewhere else?
And I think it's real important that you integrate, no matter what you do, it's integrated. The speech should not be something separate for the kids to have to do. It should not be an add-on activity. So if you're doing a history or social science project, that the speech can be incorporated within that. If they're doing a research project on biographies, historical figures, then that speech is part of that research project. Same thing with a math piece, that you're talking about math. The students are working on a math problem solving, then they get up and they practice presenting that math problem solving to the students. So it's an integrated piece of your curriculum. It's not something separate. And I think that's real essential that teachers understand that.
Great. Anything else?
Also that the speeches do not always have to be evaluated, but we can sit back at some point and use those moments as teachable moments. Whether it's a math lesson or it's a retail, we can also bring in elements of speech and how one particular student may have presented something, or what things you may have liked or disliked, or some sense of evaluation that can go back to those speech elements that we're always looking at.
Every time that they gave a little speech, we would talk about, does it have details? Does it have a good grabber? You know, do you understand what they're saying? Does the topic fit the audience? You know, are they speaking clear? Can everyone hear? And so I think really the biggest teacher has been modeling, and we have some excellent speakers in the room who really set some examples, and I think everybody worked towards meeting those standards.
One thing that Ron brings up that I think is very important, and that is that for every activity that you do, you don't have to score all of the dimensions of the scoring guide. For instance, you might do one activity for ideas and content, something else for organization, something else for the language, something else for the delivery. And when you're ready to collect the work sample, then you put all the pieces together and you do an assessment that covers all areas. What are some of the benefits you see with that?
Well, it's very essential that you not just give the students a speech and you score all components of it immediately. Students have to have some modeling, some practice in order to do a quality job. So when they're modeling and practicing their speeches, again, you might just focus on ideas and content. A teacher might model a speech on ideas and content, give one that doesn't have very many ideas or too much meat to it for students that more or less have to infer. Students help score that and then show one that quality at a score point of 3 for a 3rd grader or 4 for 4th and 5th grade teachers or for students. And when you do that and you start segregating it out into different smaller components, it's easier for the kids to understand and to practice themselves. So they've had the practice with ideas and content. You've worked on, then they've had the practice with organization, language, delivery, so they've had all that practice. Now let's go ahead and pull it together for a final speech. And so all the practices, again, wouldn't count for their portfolio or their work sample, but you have to have the practice and the modeling before you can ever expect a student to do well on a speech.
I really like just taking
just starting out, taking the scoring guide, just taking one strand, taking delivery, taking the 3 and 4, and just working on that, and then adding another small piece, and then another small piece, so that kids could get a sense. And it was really valuable for me because never having scored speaking before, I got really familiar with the scoring guide too.
On the area of delivery, we see a lot of students like reading directly off of the page. What can we do as students are preparing to make sure that they give that more conversational delivery that's going to allow them to meet the standard in the area of delivery?
I think you have to talk about conversation with students and model the difference between reading a speech and just giving a conversation, talking about the topic that they're on. One thing I have my kids work on with note cards is, one, they have to have note cards. They're not allowed to have their speech in front of them. The note cards can only be words or an outline. No sentences are allowed on their note cards. And practicing that, have them, just tell them, tell me the story. Do not read it. Don't memorize it. If you memorize it, chances are you're going to get lost someplace while you're memorizing it and you're giving your speech. Then you're going to stall trying to remember what it is you're going to talk about. So we really work and practice that with other peers and with some adults too.
Retelling is an important element. And maybe changing the person, the voice that they're using, and changing a formal speech into something a bit informal and using a first-person voice will be a way of helping them. I know for the younger ones, they tend to write down the speech and write down every single word. And if you practice with the idea that you have the knowledge of the subject, just retell it to us in your own words, using your own voice. And I think that makes them a lot more comfortable as well.
Certainly, if they're very passionate or interested in their topic, they're going to probably have a much more expressive and conversational delivery than if they're just reading facts or relating facts that really have no importance to them.
And for primary students, what's helpful is doing some small pictures on note cards so they don't have words, or having little picture cards to help them talk about their whatever's in the next part of their sequence. So it kind of goes with whatever their topic is. If they've chosen a topic that they like and they know about it, they can put pictures together or a storyboard or act it out. There's a variety of ways that the K through 3 can do this without long, lengthy notes.
Sometimes we'll take a really simple sentence like, it's here, and think about the ways that we can make it have different meaning by the way we pronounce it, like, oh, it's here, or it's here, or more of a question like, it's here. And we'll practice those types of things so that they realize their voice and the way that they speak would have a different meaning.
Let's turn for a second to visual aids, because we've seen lots of students on our tapes using visual aids, some with varying degrees of success. What do you see as the role of visual aids in speaking? Why are they important, and how would you go about helping kids to use them more effectively? You want to start, Cindy?
Sure, I'll start. Visual aids should enhance the presentation. And so when students are using visual aids, that's one thing that has to be taught to students. Most students at this age do not know how to use their visual aids within their speech. They do it as a side note. It's after their speech that they give their visual aid. And so one thing, it has to be taught. You have to model with students on how to use the visual aid appropriately. And then the visual aid, once the student's using it, they can refer to it several times throughout their speech. Again, it's to enhance their presentation.
I think it always is helpful when you have something to talk about, because eventually they're going to have boards behind them, presentation boards that they'll have to talk from as they get older. And so this is kind of in preparation for that presentation board.
I think if you start at kindergarten with the show and tell and the sharing, that's where it begins. And making sure that the other kids in the classroom can hear them, can see them, they're paying attention. They have some kind of introduction. This is my, and kindergarten might be, this is my dog, or this is a picture of or this is what I did on my trip. So they do have a very simplistic introduction. And then, of course, as they get older, then the criteria gets a little more difficult.
And certainly, it would be totally appropriate for the teacher to design or whatever the assignment is in such a way that it's all responses to individual questions, that they just go down a series of questions and respond to each one of those. That at the very beginning, you can provide the structure for the student, because that's probably where they're going to struggle the most, is to try to put the pieces together. So if the pieces are kind of laid out for them, then they'll be more successful at that early age.
I think the modeling is important too, that they see and hear good speeches, whether they practice monologues or poetry, but that they see, and also that they see a correlation in their writing. We were talking about kindergartners and show and tell, but the first graders with retelling the stories that they've written, that personalize it, and that can be a form of speech. But it is important that they use their own voice and find their own voice and are comfortable with it.
We hope that this tape has been helpful to you in your speech assessment evaluation. Additional tapes and supplemental materials are available at regional ESD offices or through the Department of Education's Office of Assessment and Evaluation.
I think it's wonderful. I really do, and I think everybody, even though they're still nervous, I think they've learned a lot. I think it's a great skill to know. And it's easy to put in with other curriculum areas. It's a nice way to share your work.
Well, I'd go in the shower and tape it onto the wall, and I'd read it slowly, skim through it, and then after I read slowly, skim through it, and I'd just turn the water on cold after that and turn around, and until I could memorize it, I'd keep it on.
I did it in front of the mirror a couple times. I did it in front of my pet lizard that I have, and I know so he wouldn't laugh at me, so I don't think he would laugh.
I'm just impressed that they come through with what they do. It's amazing. And I think that's because the standard has been set higher and higher every year, and every year, if it's set higher, they're going to meet that standard. Kids are miraculous that way. They're going to meet that standard.